Hello folks, and welcome to another fully packed out edition of The Edge. On episode number 19 we've got yet again a fully packed out show for you with loads of reviews I'm sure you'll like from all over the internet. So without further ado, let's crack straight on.
Alright, now I've been wanting to do another review for quite a while, and I promised you guys a Street Fighter 4 review, which I hope to get out very soon. Just waiting for Katie to come over so me and her can fight it out and, you know, show you what the multiplayer is like. But in the meantime, I figured I'd review another game that is just as anticipated. It's for the PS3. It's none other than Killzone 2. So before commenting on it, may as well just jump right into it and show you guys some gameplay. So let's do this. Alright, so graphically this game is one of the most stunning games we're going to see this year. The lighting is just ultimately phenomenal, and the dark overtone themes that shadow the world give this weird war-torn feeling that the game tries to admit. Now, while the overall presentation of the graphical enhancements can be easily adored, there are some minor things that truly got to me. First off, a lot of the time, your NPC allies are walking around in circles or just simply running into the line of fire. Now, while it's true that that's more of an AI problem than a graphical one, I've also noticed their renders cutting in and out, glitching up, and sometimes even losing color. Their animation can also sometimes be overdone, like when they die, but it all adds up to a believable presentation overall. Now the scenery is where the true beauty lies. You'd have to play this game yourself to truly admire it, but I would go far enough to say that at some points, the background could be considered to be picture perfect, and that's no lie. Whether you're playing on an HD TV or not, this game still looks beautiful. Now when it comes to video games, sometimes realism can be a bad thing. Now while the controls are solid, some gamers may want to take advantage of the fact that the control scheme can be changed to something more along the lines of Call of Duty. Now after you've chosen the controls that are more suitable for you, you'll notice the aiming, walking, running, and everything else is played very realistically. That means that when you swing right, you need to deal with propulsion. So don't expect to let go of the right stick and stop immediately. You're going to move a little. As for running, I have to say it's an improvement among most FPS games, because for once, get this, you can run and reload. Finally! Jesus Christ, that only took the gaming industry 12 years. But hey, looks like they got it right, so no more complaining. Aside from that, the controls are pretty solid, and with a little practice, anybody should be able to master them in no time. Now, the sound quality's not bad when it comes to the atmosphere, but the dialogue dished out by your allies could be a lot better.
Hey Garza, you look cold! I am cold! Next time we're in Mania Hotel! Shut your weapons! Check!
There's also excessive swearing too, so if you're into that kind of thing, that's cool, but you know, if you're not, you may want to mute the game. There's also custom soundtracks as well you might want to check out. It can really add flavor to the battlefield. Unless you're heavily into military war stories, then you're going to notice the prose here is as forgettable as every other war story out there. There's not too much to set it apart from games like Call of Duty or Resistance, but it does have its own theatrical storyline. You don't have to worry about getting attached to the characters either. It just seems like they're all so bland, war-torn people that you don't feel anything for them. This is simply just a shooter. That's about it. Now, as far as gameplay goes, single player is more than definitely worth a run-through, if not a couple times at that. There's plenty to find, achieve, and enjoy. The graphics are well worth taking in, and the story is rather acceptable. However, like most FPS, multiplayer is where it's at. Now, unfortunately, I hadn't had a chance to play much multiplayer, but what I have experienced was utterly amazing. Everything is set up in a balanced way. The voice chat is ready to go, and the graphics maintain their level of awesomeness. The only flaw in gameplay is that there's no split screen. So overall, Killzone 2 is amazing. The only thing I was rather disappointed that they took out was actually from the first one, you could do, split screen on the same TV, multiplayer, and you could set the amount of bots or whatever. I mean, they still got it that you can do it online, but it's still not the same as sitting side by side in a room and doing it. Overall, though, it is a great experience either way you play the game, whether it be online, single player. The lack of split screen is disappointing for me, but the game can still do without it. So, in overall, my final opinion for Killzone 2 is...
Rated M for mature.
Unit 2-7, report to cell deck 5. Unit 3-9, report to cell deck 4, relay corridor. Riot control requires extra firepower for the prisoner cleanup.
Gotta stay in the dark.
Something's going on.
Nothing here. Best keep looking.
Alright guys, we're going to take a look at Genji, Dawn of the Samurai for the PlayStation 2. We're going to do the continued game. Well, I'm noticing, which I've noticed this for a while, that when I do stuff on the TV, for some stupid reason, the megabytes are just totally freaking insane. I just did a video and it came out to like 300 and something megabytes. It's like, alright, now I understand why using video capture might be the best bet. I'm gonna have to figure that one out, because if this I can't keep doing that. You know, recording footage off the television the way that I'm doing it now is that the megabytes is just unbelievable. Sometimes it, you know, goes over a certain as you can tell, it's Japanese. You know, you got English dialogue on the bottom screen there. I just want to give a shout out to not because of this game, but I just want to give a shout out to Luke Moss One and tell him welcome back. Glad to see him back doing games again. He was on the sidelines for a little while, but he's back. So if you guys haven't checked Luke Moss One out, check him out. He does a lot of great games over there. And he's from the Rising Sun. My brother, some reason, keeps going over there. I don't know what he's doing, but I find it comical. Oh, looks like a slaughter. His eyes are closed and he's not budging. We're gonna find out what the hell's going on here.
何者だ。心の腐りきった兵士の人間に答える必要はない。勘違いしているようだ。俺は問答無用。それは天鋼。源氏の末裔と我が名にかけて貴様の命、この弁慶がご覧行ける。
Here we go, you guys get to see a boss battle. Alright, time to pause the game. Gotta go in my items and get some health. This guy's just beating the holy turds out of me. Oh, you bitch! Why is China so angry? No! Oh, good God. Oh, wow. Can't use that item. Potion of power. No, I can't. No, I can use the attacks, but I can't. Something tells me that this guy is not going to be dead because he's on the back cover of the game, so I think he's going to be playing a major role in this game. I've just started playing this probably about a week ago, not even a week ago, a few days ago, and pretty damn good game, I gotta say. I mean, very underrated. Alright, that's a short look at Genji for the PlayStation 2, so take it easy, guys. Have a good one.
Rated E10 for ages 10 and up. Sega.
Hi everyone, my name is Jared Nickel. I'm the Executive Director for ProjectCoe.com, and I just wanted to give you all a quick shout out to say thank you very much in joining us and making this 100th video feature something very special for all of us at Project COE. We truly can't thank you enough, and we look forward to you joining the COE community once we officially go live with it, when our content management system heads up probably sometime in the next couple of months. A few of us are going to be heading out to E3 this year, so we hope to bring you maybe some video interviews and a few other things. It should be a really, really great time for everyone in the COE family. So thank you very much for making this truly something special. And about this video review, I'm going to be talking about the latest downloadable content for the Xbox 360 version of Grand Theft Auto 4 called The Lost and Damned. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. So, like my video introduction there sort of told you, we're going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 4, The Lost and Damned. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this, simply because, you know, a lot of it is very similar to Grand Theft Auto 4. One thing that isn't so similar happens to be the storyline. For the most part, this is basically about a biker gang, okay? It's nothing as deep or as well developed as Nico's storyline. That being said, I found it to be actually quite entertaining. It's basically about a biker named Johnny who he's a vice president of the Lost. They're basically a biker gang within Liberty City. Now, as the president has been in rehab and he finally manages to get out, it's you sort of get the conflict that happens between Johnny and Billy, who's the president of the biker gang, because Johnny wants to take the gang in one direction and Billy wants to jump like headfirst into the drug trade. But anyways, eventually, things happen, and the storyline sort of bridges the gap between that like basic premise and the whole story that involves Nico. I mean, a lot of media outlets out there have been, pretty harsh on the overall storyline. But I actually found it to be quite entertaining, especially in the later portions where Nico's involved, or at least characters from Nico's story are involved. And speaking of that, like some of your favorite characters from Grand Theft Auto 4 make either make a special appearance or make a return here, which was really nice. Now, gameplay-wise, again, for the most part, this is Grand Theft Auto, okay? So you get, like, a whole bunch of new missions. You get 21 main missions, you get 54 new songs, you get just a whole bunch of stuff, and it only costs about $20-25, depending on where you live in the world. But anyways, what makes the gameplay, I'd say, better than Grand Theft Auto 4 is the fact that motorcycles now have a much heavier feel to them. So you don't just have to, like, say, hit a lamppost and go flying off the bike, okay? Which is really, really helpful, believe me, because, I mean, let's face it, it takes place in Liberty City, but it's a biker gang, right? So it'd be kind of stupid to just sort of, like, give a love tap to a car and go flying off. It wouldn't really make any sense. So, for once you finally want to use motorcycles, because you can easily zip in and out of traffic, to get away from cops and things like that. The main missions are, varied enough, sort of like Grand Theft Auto 4. I mean, you'll do a lot of things that will connect into Nico's storyline, as I said before. So that's kind of cool. The new weapons that you get, some of them are wicked. That they include there's like an assault shotgun. That's got to be my favorite. A couple of shots is enough to blow up a car. So imagine. There's also like a whole bunch of multiplayer, online multiplayer games that you can play. They even adapt some of the pre-existing ones where you can use some of these new features that I'm talking about in here. Now, the reason why I'm sort of like, racing through this is because, I mean, it is downloadable content. So, you have to take that into consideration. In other words, graphically, it's identical to Grand Theft Auto 4. It looks pretty stunning. Liberty City is just as alive and fresh as it ever was. The new songs have been integrated into the existing playlist, so that's pretty cool. You can listen to an old song, then it'll switch to one of the new ones, and you're like, all right, sweet. So, I mean, that's great. The humor is all there. Everything is there. I mean, this is the complete package. And compared to some of the other downloadable content out there, this thing is a steal. I know for some of you, you'll be like, wow, $20, that's ridiculous. But again, for the most part, this is really, really a hefty downloadable pack. And the only sort of like bad parts to this happen to be the fact that it's not backwards compatible. In other words, these enhancements, you cannot go back to Grand Theft Auto 4 and use them, which was really, really unfortunate. But, what can you do? This was sort of exclusive to the Xbox 360, and that's it. So that's pretty well all she wrote. This is an expansion pack that you simply must download if you're a fan of Grand Theft Auto 4. If you can't stand anything about Grand Theft Auto 4, then by all means, stay clear. It's just not worth it. Remember, you need to have Grand Theft Auto 4, the disc. You need to download the expansion in order to play this game. You cannot play it on its own. All things considered, I gave the game a 9.3, and really, it really deserves it. It just blew my mind what was offered here in basically what amounts to a $20 expansion. Some games are actually shorter than this. It's for the price, and compared to all the development efforts that Rockstar put forth, in my opinion, this is definitely a must-buy. So, if you want all the details, be sure to hit up projectseaweed.com for the full written review, and thank you very much for watching.
Everybody has their reasons. They all want something. Afro, up here. Look around you. It's time to do what you do.
Take the headband. Become number one. Become God.
It's all right. You need to rest.
Up there. What is that?
Any release of Silent Hill is looked forward to highly because of the high sense of quality that each game has put up. Silent Hill Homecoming, Double Helix's very first project, starts off very intriguing and scary, but is quick to show its many problems, which ultimately result in a big disappointment. Silent Hill Homecoming is rarely scary, often frustrating, and never fun. He plays Alex Shepard, a U.S. soldier who has returned to his hometown of Shepherd's Glen after a tour of duty. They discover that his brother is missing, his mother sadistic, and the town engulfed in some sort of weird twilight zone of monsters and fog. Sound familiar? Throughout the game, you discover just what your own town has to do with Silent Hill, and your own role in all of this. The story itself is done in a rather decent fashion, with an excellent script, interesting characters, some twists and turns, and some great directing. To match up with the well-told story, Homecoming features a dialogue tree that changes depending on the context of the situation, as well as lead you toward one of the game's 5 endings. It often gives you just one choice, which is completely useless and a poor design. Also, the 5 endings are not worth getting to, and that's because of how poor the actual gameplay is. Homecoming's biggest flaw is its combat system. Double Helix tried to make a more action-oriented game with more enemies, giving Alex a bigger arsenal of moves such as combos and parries. The controls are extremely stiff and unresponsive, and enemies are extremely tough to take down because of this, which results in an entirely frustrating game. Made worse is the camera during these action sequences, which jumps around left to right, gets stuck in walls, or shows you absolutely nothing. The action itself is highly uninspired in design because you'll always be using an axe or a knife. It just gets boring fast, and it's not any fun. The gunplay is also a complete waste of time. You rarely get any ammo, which is a status quo for a true survival horror game, but because of how many enemies there are, it's useless. The design also has big issues. The flashlight Alex has barely illuminates anything, which can result in you not being able to see an opening right in front of you, resulting in aimlessly running around and wasting time. There isn't nearly enough variety as I would have hoped for. The puzzles that are in the game are complete pushovers. It seems like everything that the game throws at you, which seemed a great idea, ended up being a waste of time, and that's unacceptable. Silent Hill Homecoming, disappointingly, isn't all that scary. There are definitely a few parts that will have you worried, but only about dying. The game is never truly horrifying, only dark. It's never startling, always predictable. The visual style in Silent Hill Homecoming is inconsistent. The texture work is absolutely terrible, and the frame rate is sporadic. However, the excellent lighting and deliberately grainy look pay off, a bit. It still looks like a last generation game in every sense of the term. The poor camera angles are absolutely no help at all. The soundtrack, on the other hand, is excellent, with some truly eerie tunes, the voice acting is great, and the effects are creepy. The game takes about 10 hours long, but it's not even worth getting to one of its 5 endings. The bosses are frustrating, the combat is frustrating, the game is not scary, and it is sloppy design. The only saving grace is its decent story and sound design, but those aren't enough. While I was playing Homecoming, I came to a sad realization. I was wasting my time. That is the biggest sin that a game can commit. This is definitely not the Silent Hill you were waiting for. It's not even good, and it's certainly nothing you should want to play.
more than a decade, Capcom has refused to release a direct sequel to the popular fighting game that is Street Fighter. Finally, Capcom has decided to create a new Street Fighter, and just like Mega Man 9, Capcom decided to follow its roots from Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Thus, Street Fighter 4 is born for the Xbox 360 and PS3. Now before I begin this review, let me just say that I never got into Street Fighter until now. And my skills in the previous games of 2 and 3, I sucked terribly, alright? So this whole entire review is from a newbie's perspective. So right off the bat, if you're a newcomer and you're seeing all this hype for Street Fighter 4 and you've never laid any hands on the previous Street Fighter titles, you will definitely have a hard time picking this game up. The game is definitely aimed towards Street Fighter veterans, so the game is not forgiving to beginners. The computers will constantly spam moves or almost never leave themselves open for a hit. And when you're new, even when you jump online, all the players seem to have like incredible skill and they'll always beat you. For example, my records here, as you can see, I only have 1 win out of 16 matches. I for one found myself losing round after round and screaming with anger. But it's definitely something you should look past if you're passionate about getting better at Street Fighter. Street Fighter 4 may be tough if you're a beginner, but Capcom already seems to know about this, so they threw in challenge modes. Challenge modes give you the ability to look at each character and learn their basic combos and specials. Returning players will be able to hone their skills and review some of the basics with challenge modes. With a lot of time and patience put into your characters, you'll definitely be playing like the pros soon enough. Returning players will definitely feel at home once they pick up the controller to play. All the classic moves are very similar to pull off from the previous Street Fighters, and the mechanics of the games remain the same, so their decade of playing will not go to waste. Capcom has left this fighter as a one-on-one fight with a few new features, but a familiar feature is the super meter. It fills up when you attack your opponents or get them to block. Once your super meter fills up, you can pull off a super combo on your opponents or an EX attack, which are the character's special moves with a little more power to it. One of the new features are the revenge meters, where you can pull off ultra combos. The revenge meter fills up only when you get hit, and then you can release a ferocious combo on your opponents. The other new feature in the game are the focus attacks. The focus attacks can be used as a counter or fakes on your opponents. They can also withstand one hit from your opponents before releasing a power blow that is unblockable when fully charged. If you don't want to try these new attacks, or if you just can't pull them off for some reason, the game still runs incredibly smoothly without them. Although they do make the game a lot more fast-paced, challenging, and more fun, so I do recommend that you try to learn these. With Street Fighter 4 being a new game, it's almost essential to have new characters. Each of these characters are starters, so you don't have to do anything to unlock them. You'll have Crimson Viper, Abel, El Forte, and Rufus to begin with. Also make note that Capcom added these characters so that newbies like me can keep up with Street Fighter veterans that will probably just go straight to their mains from their previous Street Fighters. Besides the many different ports of Street Fighter 2, Capcom has decided to throw in an online mode for Street Fighter 4. The setup is only for 2 people in a room, and they can only fight each other once unless it's a player match. Unlike some of the other fighters, no one else can join the room, nobody can play the winners, or watch the matches. Even with an online mode, expert players would still want to play people offline in versus. The presentation for Street Fighter 4 is beautiful. The character models have amazing detail, and everyone's animations run smoothly with no drop frames. What I also found pretty cool was the languages. The game can of course speak in English or Japanese, but what I have not seen before is that you can change the individual characters to speak either English or Japanese in the game. So while you're fighting, you can have a mixture of a Japanese voice actor talking to somebody speaking in English.
I'm ready for you. Bring it on!
Also, when you change from Japanese to English, the menu theme also changes their language. Just give it a listen. There aren't too many things that Capcom did wrong with this game. One of them was being the difficulty that I've already mentioned before. The other thing is the anime cutscenes. When you start an arcade game and when you finish an arcade game, it'll give you an anime scene. But the thing is that they just make no sense whatsoever, and they don't really tell anything. Even in the collector's edition, if you watch the movie, it doesn't make too much sense, and there's very little fighting, which is very disappointing. And one problem that I found was not even by Capcom, it was by Microsoft and their 360 controller. The control is absolutely terrible unless you use an arcade stick. The D-pad feels unresponsive and chunky, making the game a lot harder than it should be. Playing a game that requires a lot of timing doesn't really work with the 360 controller at all. PlayStation 3 on the other hand shouldn't have this problem since the D-pad and joysticks are very responsive to the game. But either way, if you have an arcade stick, this game should be enjoyable for both versions. Capcom has delivered an amazing sequel for those waiting for a decade. If you're new to the series, I'd recommend putting a little thought before you get the game, because this game really requires a lot of skills to play. But if you simply love Street Fighter and you don't care about the difficulty, Street Fighter 4 is definitely your game.
Attention all Hawks aircraft, we have 3 active conflict zones. Roll out strike package Whiskey Zulu. Angle 3 left turn ahead, taxi report cross 7. Boots on the ground, request engage or close strike mission, target confirmed. Copy that, Delta Squad, keep your target lane, checkpoint Baker, over.
Target is bleeding.
Got incoming vampire! This is a stage 1 alert. You're no longer in the American Air Force. Class 1 bandit, good shooting. Officer 3 hostiles engaged line up. Defend at all costs. Engage targets at will. Right on your nose. We have confirmed missile lock at Air Force 1. Officer 3 moving to intercept incoming missile. Target locked. Engage. Air Force 1 is out of harm's way.
Well, this is Quackmaster Drake 91, and this is my little user review of Phantasy Star Portable. Bearing in mind I'm new to the series, it's pretty straightforward, and for those of you that don't know what it is, you get to be basically an elf, a beast folk guy, a mech, or a human, and from that point you work your way through various stages and levels, fighting little tiny monsters, and all eventually leading up to a large boss fight that will give you experience and unlock higher levels. Pretty straightforward. Alright, basically my review will be 5 categories. It will be the storyline, the customization of your character and your experience in the game, the AI character, combat mode, and the overall difficulty of the game. So, without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Alright, so you open in this little area here, and you can bring partners along with you. You see I got my little pixie thing. Yeah. Here's some of the little monsters that spawn. Oh, I forgot to mention, you kill them and you get experience points to help you level up and get more attack. Kinda reminds you of Pokemon. Weird, huh? Oh, and here's some of the weapons you can use, like I had my scythes, my dual swords, a whip, some guns. Notice they're all kind of laser themed, kind of futuristic. Favorite weapon right there is my dual blade staff thing. You know, whatever. I should also mention this is a really easy level, so I'm kind of overpowered for this, but I'm just kind of showing you what it's like. And then after you beat a bunch of bosses, keys will drop down, which you use to unlock to get further in the game. Like here's the door that key goes to. Blow up some boxes, you can find more items inside them. And some monsters will spawn after you open the box. And then all the green doors are unlocked, and you just pick them and kind of wander your way around till you get to the next stage, your stage 2. In this level, it's actually the final stage. Sometimes there's up to 5 or so, but this is actually the boss fight. Like I said, I'm a bit overpowered, so that went fairly quick, but yeah. So after you beat the boss, the end of the thing pops up, and it will display the experience level and points you earned. It'll show your character and your weapon status. Then you go through the door and you're done. Pretty straightforward. Final review time. First off, storyline. For that, all things considered, it's in Japanese, so I can't really evaluate this fairly. It's not necessary to the gameplay, since all you really need to know is how to kill stuff and how to open doors, so... Customization. This is very well done part of the game. It allows you to make over your character almost any style you want and dress them however, kind of like a giant Barbie doll. AI. The AIs in this game are pretty helpful through most of the game. They can help you in healing and also in combat itself. I only have two major issues with them. One is at the early stages of the game they are insanely overpowered compared to basically everything else. And the most annoying thing is they have the obnoxious tendency to get stuck in doors or narrow tunnels. I mean, you either have to go back and unstick them or wait for them to respawn. Combat. This part of the game was actually excellent. I love the weapon choices and the free-range fighting, you know, none of those annoying barriers like you can only go this far. This is kind of the fighting style I had hoped Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core had, but we can see who got on top of this one. Difficulty. Though all the bosses do get harder in the game, it's, as an entire entity, it is fairly average. The avid gamer will have it done in, I'd give them a week at most. It doesn't take that long. Also, I find this game tends to get really repetitive really fast. Overall grade for this, I'd say it's worth the buy. You'll have fun with it. Numerically, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. It's a really great game, being highly customizable, and it has that cool combat style that I'm pretty much in love with. The drawbacks are the buggy AI and the just sheer repetitiveness of the whole thing. But seriously, play it if you get the chance, buy it, rent it, whatever.
Well, that brings us to the end of episode number 19 of The Edge. Like I said, fully packed out show, and a lot of those reviews were very well done by all the participants. I'd like to thank each and every one of them for doing those reviews, and also our good friend Ross for 1712 of the Total Gamer staff for scouting them out. Be sure to check out more next time on episode 20, but in the meantime, you can always check out our other podcast and video cast. We've got Worth Wii Points and Worth 360 Points hosted by Dan Van Dam. We have the Total Gamer USA and Total Gamer UK, otherwise known as GTV's, audio podcasts as well, plus a variety of other stuff, including the video sharing area, forums, and a variety of plentiful stuff to keep all of you gamers occupied, including the most up-to-date recent industry news. So, if you have any feedback or such, please leave it at mailbag@thetotalgamer.com, mailbag@thetotalgamer.com, and for all of our podcasts, they are available through iTunes as well, and on RSS feeds. So if you do get the show through that, please take a couple of minutes out and give us feedback on any of the podcasting feeds we have. Until next time though, this has been Mindwipe, and as always, we will leave you with this last parody. Have fun, folks.
Stop that! Damn! Fire, oh my God! You are distinct. Yell it, awesome! Planet, planet! Great, cheers! Shit! There I am, Sahara, son of
Nevertheless, you're an outsider. Just remember, if you become unpleasant to our eyes,
You pervert!
Leon! Small world, eh? Okay, it's game time. Resident Evil 2. Did I get him? What's the news in our friend Leon? Been a long time. Better try a new trick, cause that one's getting old.
You've been